at the current affairs where we witnessed lingering COVID-19 pandemic, global economic recovery remained unfavorable to be achieved. The rise in inequality and emerging global frictions requires globally coordinated actions. The Think 20, or better known as the T20, is the G20's official engagement group that connects think tanks worldwide. The T20 serves as a global ideas bank, bringing together experts from the most relevant think tanks and research institutes worldwide. The T20 develop and communicate research-based policy recommendations to the G20 leaders. In its 10th year, the T20 under the Indonesian presidency will be present to systematically produce practical policy proposals for G20 decision-makers. Initiated by the Mexican G20 presidency, the T20 was formally established in February 2012 in Mexico City, where think tank representatives from 15 countries came together to discuss the Mexican G20 presidency in the run-up to the leaders' meeting in Los Cabos. Since then, T20 has consistently produced policy recommendations to the G20 leaders and also maintained solid collaborations with other engagement groups. This year, T20 highlighted 3 strategic issues. First, promoting greater cooperation for stronger, balanced, and resilient recovery. Achieving resilient and inclusive economic recovery simultaneously by global economies is essential to reduce the risk of having prolonged crises that affect unevenly across social classes.
The task for G20 this year is really huge. What I expect them to at least agree on is a package of concerted macroeconomic policy responses. Remember, G20 does not have implementing institutions. Governments are expected to do their works independently of one another to implement whatever is agreed upon in the G20 summit.
The T20 acknowledges the importance of concrete actions in realizing global agreement. It enables platforms for research institutions and think tanks worldwide to formulate practical solutions that supports multilateralism and global governance to improve the state of global cooperation. Second, advancing concerted effort for inclusive and sustainable development. Post-pandemic development in times of changing climates needs to also consider environmental issues, while also inclusive to all communities and aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals.
Economic recovery after pandemic cannot just simply repeat the economic performance prior to the pandemic. We need to make sure that the recovery pattern will really benefit everybody. And there are 2 issues that needs to be dealt with during the recovery. The first is inclusivity, because during the pandemic, and especially after pandemic, there is a tendency of higher inequality between and within countries. So it means that the inclusivity needs to be in the forefront when we are making the development policy. And certainly the second aspect is sustainability. The sustainability aspect, especially on the climate change, could be a potential disaster in the future if we do not take care well the issue of sustainability.
Series of discussions under the T20 Indonesia aims to adapt to the latest development and progress in the climate change agenda. As the representative of emerging economies, Indonesia's T20 presidency also aims to represent the interests of emerging nations that will eventually result in productive and inclusive discussions. And third, managing digital transformation to utilize technological progress. The unprecedented digital transformation as a result from COVID-19 pandemic should align with innovation that benefits communities worldwide.
And when we are talking the benefit to the people, then we need to make the alignment between the technology and the real issues in the population. And certainly one of the critical issues now, not only in developing countries like Indonesia, but I believe everywhere in the world is digital divide.
A fair access to technology is a must. There is no other way in which we can address sustainable growth and a more equal development unless access to technology is made more or less fair around the globe.
These strategic issues will be discussed further by think tanks across the world under the coordination of T20 Indonesia's 9 task forces. Alongside the support provided by these task forces, T20 Indonesia will be led by our lead co-chairs as well as executive co-chairs. The T20 Indonesia, hosted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies and the Institute for Economic and Social Research, University of Indonesia, both are think tanks that play important roles in policy-oriented research. T20 envisions providing analytical inputs into the G20 decision-making process, formulate independent recommendations which are based on empirical evidence, promoting international cooperation through discussions among global think tanks, and initiating policy dialogue on issues that have yet to be covered in the formal forum. Recover together. Recover stronger.